much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Season 3, Episode 3. That was the boat ride from hell. But let's get into it. The episode opens up where it left off, where they're still at the Ladyboy dinner, and Leah's talking about it's a snooze fest. She coming at Marisol, pretty much telling Marisol, like, don't try to get me in an argument with Alexia. And everyone's kind of looking at her like, no, even though what Marisol said, like, Marisol was just pointing out that Leah was being rude. And I stand by that. Leah was being a dick, and there was no need for her to act that way. Like, yes, a conversation can be boring, but we all know, like, social etiquette is to be quiet and not be disrespectful to the party that's speaking. And it's not like Alexia wasn't propositioned for this information. Giselle asked about the story, so Alexia was telling her, and it seems like Heather and even Whitney were engaged, and Portia was engaged into the story. Leah was the only one that had an issue with it. So I didn't understand why Candace was sticking up for her, because I'm like, sis, had she done that to you, you would have felt disrespected. So that didn't make sense to me. So Leah and Candace get up because Candace needs to go change for her performance. We see that she's going to perform with several other people, people that work there, like I guess a dance troupe. While that's happening, before Candace and Leah got up, Leah had made a dig at Marisol, pretty much saying, Marisol, don't take your attitude out on me because your stomach hurts. And the fact that you need to drink every morning, that's probably why your stomach hurts. We then see Marisol actually having a conversation with like the staff medic, and they think she might have an ulcer. Honestly, Marisol's body is screaming for water. Like, sis, you got to stop drinking. You got to stop drinking or drinking so much. And I did see some people feel like Marisol is probably a functioning alcoholic, which I can see that, because I've known a couple of people who aren't alcoholics but functioning like weed heads, where like they have to smoke in the morning, they have to smoke before going to bed. Like, it's a part of, like, their body has become so used to it that like they don't act any different, and they're not like nasty or mean, but it's just like they're used to it. Like. So I was just like, yeah, that's probably what Marisol is. But the staff medic pretty much said, like, sis, you seem like you have an ulcer, but they were gonna give her something. And then I liked how everyone kind of checked Leah when they were like, oh, so let's talk about micro penises, because I didn't mention that in the last review, but Leah was talking about how she's afraid of micro penises, and everyone was like, okay, it was funny for them, but like it ain't that funny now. So Leah was telling Candace when they got up that she felt like everybody hated her, and I was like, I don't think everyone hates you, but it's like your attitude ain't doing nothing from the trip. As much as she said Alexia was sucking the air out of the table, it was like Leah did that because she shifted the mood, because everybody was like enjoying the conversation. So you were the one that shifted the mood. We then see Candace, like I said, with the dance troupe. She got on this ugly white dress. It was ugly. And the fact that I agree with Giselle, that when she was like, she don't ever need to wear that again, she don't. Leah said she looked like a loofah, or like, one of them bath sponges, and she did. I thought the dancers' costumes were really pretty. Candace comes out. She's singing Drive Back. I said, okay, girl, promote your song. And the track goes out, but she keeps singing. And I said, that's how you know if someone's like really like a performer versus someone that's just like singing, because people who like are performers and professionals will sing even when their music isn't working, because they're that good at what they're doing, and they also know that people paid to have a show. So Portia and Giselle was, taking digs in their confessionals, talking about, she performed for only 17 people. But I was like, she performed nonetheless, and the people over in Thailand, a few of them probably know her. So like she said, I'm international. And I said, okay, girl, you international. So they leave, they all dancing, having a good time. What's her name? Candace thanks everybody for coming. So they all pile into the car. You got Giselle, Alexia, had Whitney, and Portia in the car. And pretty much Portia and Giselle feel some type of way about their names. She need a man and should take a man. And Giselle says something that I've always thought was true, that Candace is not a instigator or initiator, she's a reactor. Which I'm like, if you know that, then why you be trying to drive this narrative that she's a crybaby and that she has a foul mouth, when you just said to yourself that people like that she reacts to when people do things to her. Y'all be trying to create narratives like this lady just be going out her way to be nasty, when it's like, no, sis, I'm nasty when y'all get nasty with me. But Portia and them feel some type of way. They feel some type of way. So then you got Heather, Leah, Marisol, and Candace on the other bus. Marisol's upset because she ain't able to get a drink. They on the bus giggling and laughing, but Jay was having a good time nonetheless. So we move on to the next. All right, y'all. So I think the next part was like Cuban Independence Day. They're actually doing a yacht ride, and Pepsi was able to get get some things together. I thought it was so cute, the scene that he had with Candace when she was trying to explain to him, like, have you ever used the word what's the tea, or like what's the tea is. It was just, he seemed really cool. And I also saw someone take a screenshot of his Instagram, and he was thanking the ladies and stuff. I hope like this helps him like financially, but I think a lot of people are probably going to be booking at Villa A because he's there, because he just seems like a fun time. Like what he did at the end of the episode when they were taking shots together and he was like shaking it off, like I just thought that was funny. I said, oh, I would have a fun time with Pepsi. So everyone's getting ready. We have two separate cars. So in the first sprinter, you have Marisol, Alexia, Giselle, and what's her name, Portia. Then in the other one, you have Heather, Whitney, and Leah and Candace. So in the sprinter with Marisol, Portia asked Marisol, like, girl, now that you're charged because you're feeling better, because she's taking the medicine that the medic gave her. They were like, so, sis, what do you feel about Leah? And they pretty much was like, Marisol's whole thing is like, Leah just be talking, and it's not, I don't see her talking from like her heart. I see her talking like from her mind. And then Portia says something where she's like, I feel like Leah wants attention, but the moment you give her attention, she's like, I don't want it. And then they flash back to like when they were at the table, when Giselle pretty much told Leah, like, if I'm sharing a personal story and you say it's boring or a snooze fest, like, I'ma feel disrespected. She then goes on to, you hear Candace saying like, well, girl, ask a question if you feel like this is a snooze fest. Portia interjects and was like, she don't want to hear nobody. Like, she doesn't want to change the conversation. She just don't want to talk about this. Like, and so everyone just is kind of over Leah's attitude. They also feel like Leah has been giving off this energy that she don't want to be on the trip. So they're kind of just like, why you here then? So they get on the yacht. I forgot, Candace has this obnoxious like sun hat. Like, it's like the size of her. At first it was cute and it was funny, but then I understood why everybody got annoyed with it. Because after a while I was like, okay, Candace, put it away. Put it away. It was cute for a moment. Like, that's not a hat I feel like you would bring on a yacht. I feel like that's a hat to like sit at the house and like sunbathe by the pool for, or if they were going to like another resort and sitting by the pool. But like on a boat that is moving all of like this, no, girl. So they're like, they're all get on the boat before Pepsi leaves, because Pepsi is with them too to like escort them to the yacht. Pepsi's like, okay, girls, I'm leaving. And Alexia says, does anybody want to go with him? Does anybody want to go with him? And I think Portia was like, Leah, do you want to go with him? Leah, do you want to go with him? And Leah's like, no, why would I go with him? Like, Leah felt the shade coming from Portia. So they all go up to the deck of the, I guess they were on the midline where you could like, because I feel like it's like a top deck, the middle, and the below. So I think they were on the middle. They were sitting, on the back of the boat. And Giselle gets into it. And Giselle pretty much says, Leah, I didn't like the behavior that you were exhibiting, like, yesterday. Like, you pretty much was telling us dance monkeys. And everyone was like, girl, monkeys. Okay. And you were saying we were boring, like, and it was like, if you don't want to be here, you don't got to be here. So then Leah's like, Giselle, I feel like that's kind of messed up for you to use this story against, like, to use that against me, when I explained to y'all that I was struggling with being here. Like, I was just like, it was a lot for me to be here. And then Leah's like, and then Portia making that joke. And Portia said, yeah, I made the joke. So then Leah talks about Marisol. I guess Marisol texted Leah saying like, I support you in your sobriety, but dang, I wish you could drink with us. Kind of along the lines of what Heather said. So it still was weird. Like, someone is an alcoholic, you don't be like, oh girl, let's drink together, or wish that they could drink with you, unless y'all are like close friends or something like that. Because I have seen people who are like, who have had like years of sobriety crack jokes about like wanting to drink or wanting to drink with their friends, or oh, excuse me, or like saying stuff like that with like really close friends. But it's like, you don't know these people, so for them to like text you like that, I would feel some type of way, because it's like, girl, why y'all want me to drink? And that's what she said. Why do y'all want me to drink? So, like, you got Heather sitting there just enjoying the show. She was like, girl, I'm watching the Titans fight. I said, Heather be acting like such a fan, and it's so annoying. Because you're too grown for this. And you're on the same network. Stop it. So everyone just starts arguing. Everyone starts arguing because they start getting at Leah. Portia and Giselle start arguing with Leah. Leah and Marisol start arguing because Marisol said, "Girl, I said I'm proud of you and your sobriety. It would be great if we could drink. I ain't never said you should drink with us. It was like it'd be fun if you could." So everyone's starting to argue. Alexia jumps in and she's like, "Leah, people are gonna always say things to you like that, trying to say like you can't be that defensive." But Leah's like, nobody tells me to drink. Okay, no one tells me to drink. So Leah gets up and tries to walk away. She says she got to go to the bathroom. And Candace like, don't let them run you away. Don't let them like bully you away from the table. Like, stand up for yourself. Leah's like, I'm fine. I just got to go pee. So Candace is like, y'all are taking it too far. Like, okay, she was wrong, but like she apologized. Like, can we move on from it? And Leah comes back and like her period like happens. And Leah's like, y'all made me have my period. And Portia said, I did not touch that vagina. I don't know why that made me scream. So like Leah decides to go upstairs and like get into like, I guess, a hot tub on the top of the deck of the boat and gets in the pool. And Candace starts to like tear up and cry, which I was getting annoyed with her, where she was saying that she has been having a lot of anxiety, like she doesn't do well with around people that she doesn't know. She's been calling her mom every day, and I don't think Leah should be penalized for like expressing her feelings, which I was like, I don't feel like she should be penalized for expressing her feelings, but I do feel in the way that she expressed those feelings at that table, it was disrespectful. Like, if you think a conversation is boring, you can shift the conversation by introducing something new. But to be like, this is a snooze fest. Ugh, she's talking. It's like, it was rude. And I don't get why Candace can't see that, because had Leah did that to Candace would have an issue with it. So I was like, you crying is not doing it for me. Then Portia tries to get up and like fake console her, because Portia was like, oh my God, you said you've been going through anxiety. Well, you had the shadiest game. And I'm like, that's apple to oranges. Me having a shady game versus me saying that, like I've been uncomfortable and I'm trying to get comfortable with the group is two totally different things. And then everyone been saying that they've been anxious because just like, I guess this is most of their like first trip away, like, and you're on the other side of the globe, so it's understandable. But I just felt like Portia was like, I was like, why get up and try to console her if you was going to come over there and start some mess? And you did. And Candace caught it. And you got mad because y'all was going back and forth with each other. And it was a mess. And then you got Portia and her green screen talking about, boat rides just don't work for housewives. So they flashed to when Cynthia punted her in the puss. Right in the puss. They then go to the New York one where, like, I guess the boat had caught on fire. I remember that was a mess. All shaky cam. And then I think the last one was on the first Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip when Ramona and Kenya got into it. And Kenya snatched that drink from Ramona. So it's a mess. It was a mess. It was just a mess. Like I said, it's a mess. Everyone is just arguing and yelling at the table. And then finally Marisol and Alexia are like, oh my God, y'all, let's just go get something to eat. So they have cute little Cuban sandwiches. I think it was like a tomato and mozzarella salad and their drinks. And they were playing this game where they were learning Cuban slang. And I was like, okay, this is a fun game. I took screenshots of the words. I'm not going to butcher them because, like I said, Duolingo is mad at me right now. But everyone had a really fun time. So after that's done and they're eating, you got Whitney and Heather sitting next to each other. And Giselle kicks it off where she's like, Whitney, you was a little, little wasted last night. And you told me you and Heather pinky promise that y'all weren't going to talk about your issues on TV. And Whitney's looking at Giselle like, I did not say that. Giselle, that like they said, Giselle be adding extra sauce on things. And and then you turn, like they said, if you add extra sauce to things and it overpowers the actual meal, then it's about the sauce. So sis, you just be lying. Like you be lying and it be sprinkles of the truth in there. So Whitney was like, I never said that. I said we had promised each other that we wouldn't go back. So everyone's like, oh, okay, like cool, like at least y'all getting on a good foot. Then Leah hops in and she's like, okay, Whitney, but you was talking trash about Heather. So Heather's like, girl, what? And Leah says, Whitney, you told me Heather hasn't taken her name off the, I guess, the Mormon like membership log or something. And when she said that, the way Heather's face was like, I know you didn't say that. Like Heather was so appalled. I was like, ooh. Now this is the kind of drama I can get with. But like, I mean, it's like I would be invested if this happened on Salt Lake City. But like the way Heather looked at her like, oh, I know you didn't say that. It was a mess. It was a mess. Like, I think they were taking tally of how many fights had happened on the boat. And y'all, I think it was like you had Marisol. I think it was like at least like 5 fights because they kept going back in circles. A mess. So so you got Heather looking at Whitney like, girl. No, round 5. Okay, so I guess 5 fights really did happen. So what was being explained is like they do a flashback. So pretty much, I guess in the Mormon faith, there's like a membership, and like some churches do have memberships, but it's not the way the Mormon people operate. But I guess the way that it works, in order to get your name taken off of the log of being a member of the Mormon church, you have to like go, I think Whitney said you have to speak to like priests or like community leaders, and they have to be okay with you taking your name off of it. And she said for the longest they wouldn't do it, but I think now they have like an actual board of lawyers that will just do it for you. But when you take your name off of it, it's pretty much like wiping you clean, like you're not a part of this faith. Like it's pretty much a guarantee that the people that like are still in the faith might ostracize you. More than likely will ostracize you, especially if they're staunched in their faith, will not be cool with you. And Heather was pissed because Heather's looking at Whitney like, sis, you're trying to penalize me about this, and it takes time. And she was like, how long have you been out of the Mormon faith? And I think Whitney said like 15 years. And how long did it take you to get your name off of it? Like, when did you get your name finally off the booklet? And Whitney was like 6 months ago. Like, no, I think Heather said 6 months ago. So what are you talking about me? I just recently like got out. I don't know how long it's been since Heather's been out of the faith, but I know she said about she's writing that book Bad Mormon, and she was talking about how in that book, like with that book, like she has been like since cease and desist, saying that she can't use, like legal action has been brought up against her that she can't use Mormon. So she was like, she knows that they know she out there, and then being a part of this show, that she knows that they know that she's out there. So like Heather was just taken aback. Like Heather was so taken aback because she was just like, girl, like for real, like why would you say that? So then Heather was like, why would you even say that and try to use that against me when you know how serious that is? And Whitney was like, I just said it to be shady. And I had to give Portia credit when Portia was like, sis, that's not shady. Like you're spreading a rumor that could be damaging. That's out of line. I said, thank you. Because I was looking at Whitney like, girl. So then all of a sudden, Whitney starts like crying because now she realized that everybody looking at her funny. Because you got Candace and Leah like, girl, you got Giselle sipping on her drink. And then Marisol and Alexia are like, like, So everyone's just kind of like, Whitney, that's not shady. So then Whitney tries to like do the Karen thing. Well, now that you got everybody like victimize herself, because now that you hurt somebody, you want everyone to feel bad for you because you hurt too. So Whitney brings up like why she said it, because we also find out in this portion that like they haven't even filmed the reunion for Salt Lake City either. So all of them came on these trips before their reunions and stuff. So Whitney ends up saying, like, I just been in a really bad place ever since, I've been unlocking that, like, I had blocked out my childhood from age, I think she said 9 to like 17 or something like that. And she was just like, I was being like, I guess she said she was being abused, or the situation was just very toxic, and she mentally blocked it out. So she said, like, she was like, as she's like, breaking away from her faith, it's starting to all come back. And then everyone's like, girl, what does that have to do with what you just said about Heather? So then she brings up the whole situation about she needed Heather to support her, which she told when she was sitting at that table with Meredith when they was doing lingerie and meat. And she said that Lisa be out here like, doing something strange for a piece of change to get tickets at basketball games. And Heather was like, girl, I'm not about to co-sign a lie, because I didn't hear that. And they were like, but you were there for Jen Shah. And she said, I've never supported Jen in the things that she's done. I've showed up for her, but I've never supported her. And if Jen were to say some stupid like that, I wouldn't support her either. I don't know about that, Heather. I don't know about that. So she was like, just like, and so then Whitney's like, just like the black eye. So they bring up the black eye again, and everyone's like, girl, what about the black eye? And then Portia was like, what does that have to do with any of this? Like, and then when Portia was like, they get physical in Utah. I said, and you don't? You don't, Portia Williams? Portia Mayweather? Girl, stop. So, so they were like, what does this have to do with the black eye? And she was like, because Whitney was like, because we all think that Jen gave her the black eye. So the two theories that Heather came up with is that, one, she knocked her eye because she was like, I guess in her room there was like cabinets, and she was like, she had been hitting her head on the cabinet profusely. You got Giselle talking about she the sun-kissed or suntan Barbie. I was like, what, Giselle? And she gonna get down to it. And pretty much, I was just like, Giselle, that sounds stupid. You could have just said you're a black Barbie, but okay. Giselle ends up saying that like she thinks Jen Shah did it. A lot of people thought Jen Shah was the one that gave Heather her black eye, because Heather didn't like Heather. So my thing is, I honestly don't think Jen Shah punched Heather in the face, and if she did, I don't think she did it on purpose. If that is like what actually happened, in my mind, I actually believe what Heather said, where she was like, they were running around the house drunk out their minds, and she might have like ran into something, because you got Whitney co-signing saying, yeah, I got really drunk, I locked my door, and I heard Meredith, Jen, and Heather running around, but I didn't hear any roughhousing, because Heather said maybe we were playing rough and that's what happened. And Portia's like, well, girl, there goes your answer. Like, if you don't know, you don't know. If she don't really, and I don't think she really know either, because like that black eye was nasty. That was a nasty black eye. But I really don't think anyone punched her, because I feel like had someone punched her, as ugly as Heather's black eye was, I feel like there probably would have been imprints from that or something. I feel like if Heather were to like even hit a cabinet, or someone would have punched her, there would have been a mark somewhere other than her eye, because it looked bad. So like Heather gets pissed, because they're like, let's like, Marisol and them try to break it up and be like, let's get something to eat, because this is a lot. So they get up. Heather is clearly upset and frustrated with Whitney. Whitney's trying to talk to Heather, and Whitney's like, thank you, Heather, for telling me, because I never knew that's what happened, because I've been asking, you've never told me your theories about how you got your black eye. And Heather's looking at Whitney like, girl, because you didn't really need to know. I think she said something about loyalty, and Heather was like, I don't need to prove my loyalty to you. I'm your effing cousin. I shouldn't have to prove my loyalty to you. So you see Heather walks out onto the deck, and then Leah follows Heather, and Heather is like mad. She was like, how dare she try to use that against me, knowing good and well how hard it's been for me to get my name off that list. And she was like, and even Heather said in her confessional, she was just like, taking your name off that list is like a really, like, you're drawing a line in the sand, like, completely. But I also agree with Whitney, where it's like, if you're no longer practicing in that faith and you no longer believe the practices of that faith, then why support them and in anything that, and like endorse them by having your name on there? But I also understand, like, when you're raised into a religion and it's been your whole life, it is hard to cut ties with that. Like, some people can do it like fast as I don't know what. I've seen many religious documentaries and even cult documentaries where people are like, I'm done. Like, they'll rip everything else off and go off into the sunset. And other people don't want to be a part of the cult or a part of the religion, but it's been so much a part of their lives that it is a slow breakup where it takes time for them to let go. And I think that's what it is for Heather. I think making the Bad Mormon book was like something for her to like express herself. And I don't think she'll ever go back to being a Mormon, but I think taking her name off that list is probably something that she knows is like, that's like the final like nail in the coffin. Like, there ain't no turning back. And maybe she still wants to be able to be a part of certain people's lives, but hey, it's her choice. But Leah was on the ship saying like, yeah, I didn't know if I could trust Whitney after her saying that about you. And it's like, yeah. And like, she's like, yeah. So then you got Whitney surrounded by it's Marisol, Alexia. Then sitting on the same couch with Whitney is Portia, Whitney, and then Giselle. And Giselle's like, "Ooh, show me the black eye. Like, let me see the black eye," because they didn't know she got a black eye. And then Heather walks back in and she was like, "If you show them that black eye picture, like, girl, you done. We done. Like we're done." She was like, "The fact that you're sitting on here trying to like you're like being prompted by people to do it just so you can get cool points with the alphas, i.e. Giselle and Portia, like you're disgusted." Like, Heather was so mad. And I understood why she was upset. So Portia's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna force you," because Whitney's like, I just, give me a moment, y'all, give me a moment. I was glad that Marisol told Whitney, like, girl, if you want your relationship with your cousin to work out, then don't do it. Let that be on the show because it's on the show, but like, don't do it here. And I think Whitney needed to hear that because Whitney was really about to succumb to peer pressure, and I don't think it was coming from Portia, but more so Giselle. But it was just like, girl, you doing a lot right now. And honestly, if Giselle and Portia wanted to see the black eye, they could have Googled it for themselves. I know they got they probably had Wi-Fi on their ship. So while sitting out there, you got Candace, Alexia, Leah, and Heather. And like, Heather's still pissed. And she was like, really? She really about to do that for Giselle? And then they start bringing up Candace brings up about what happened in season 7 with the whole like sexual allegations between her and Chris. Everyone's like, "Oh, girl." Then Leah's like, "Oh, so me saying y'all are boring in a snooze fest was so appalling to Giselle, but what she did wasn't appalling." So then Leah gets up, confronts Giselle. Giselle's like, "I don't remember." She was like, "I did not do that. I don't remember doing that." So then you got Candace and Giselle going back and forth. And Candace was like, "You didn't have to say he sexually, SA'd you, sis. You implied it. It didn't need to be said." And Giselle's like, "I never said that." And Candace is like, "It was implied." And so they're like both going back and forth. Candace was like, "You's a lying, you know what, because you did that for a storyline." And Giselle's like, "No, I didn't." It was a mess. Oh, it was a mess on that boat. So then they tried to move on from it. The boat finally docks. And you got Alexia, Marisol, Portia, and Giselle sitting in a car. They're talking about Heather and Whitney and how, it's a lot of hurt between them and hopefully they can get it together. In the other car, Whitney trying to be nice to Heather. Heather is ignoring the crap out of Whitney. Like, "Don't give me no chips. Get the bag out of my face. I don't want to talk to you." And we see Heather, like once they get back to the house, we see Heather sitting in the bed reading Portia's coloring book, her memoirs. Everyone gets ready, but I don't know if they were going out that night. But it seems like they're having dinner at the house. We then see Candace and Leah speaking in the bathroom. And Candace is pretty much telling Leah, like, stand up for yourself against Giselle. Excuse me, like Giselle, you can stand up for yourself. Giselle's still gonna come at your neck, but you need to let her know she's not gonna run you from that table, and you also need to let Portia know that as well. And then we see Pepsi, Portia, and Giselle taking shots, and he is just the cutest thing to me. But yeah, y'all, that was the episode. Like I said, a boat ride from hell. All that arguing. All that arguing. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic and hop down in them comments below. Deuces.